Hey guys! I'm going to do something a tiny bit different today. I'm going to make a page in my traveler's notebook. But earlier in the week I had posted a couple of pictures on Instagram when I found one of my latest traveler's notebook page looked incredibly similar to one I had done a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, and it just kind of gave me the idea that I should scraplift myself maybe more often. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a page that you've created and then using that as a jumping off point for another page. So I thought that's what I would do today, but I thought what I would do is dig through my traveler's notebook stash and find the very first traveler's notebook page I ever did and scraplift that. So this is my first ever traveler's notebook insert, and this is from July 2016, so it's almost 4 years old. And I think this one here is the first layout that I ever posted a process video for. But this is actually the first layout I ever did in a traveler's notebook. I'm pretty sure this was using a citrus twist kit. I think it was probably like leftovers from a citrus twist kit, and I think what had happened is I had a sort of night to myself. I sat in front of the fire and just played in this new format that I'd never tried before, this new traveler's notebook. Super enjoyed it, and then started filming process videos in here. So I think there were a few in here. There's some pages I still really love some of these in here. So it was a quick jump to loving traveler's notebooks in almost 4 years ago. So what I'm going to do is use this as a base for today's page. I'm going to scraplift this design and create a new page in a new notebook. I've got a little photo here. I might need to trim that a little bit maybe, but this was the photo that I wanted to use today. And I also have some of my new Heidi Swap storyline chapters goodies, so I'm going to use that instead of a kit as well. But let's get started. So what I would normally do if I was scraplifting something is probably draw like a little sketch of it and then work from the sketch, and it doesn't have to be like crazy complicated. It's normally just a bit of notepaper and a pencil, rather than having like the actual page sitting here. So I'm guessing that how this is going to translate onto my new page is going to be quite a literal kind of scraplift. It's going to look very similar. And so what I've started off by doing is trimming down that photo a little bit. The photo from my original page is very narrow, and it's sitting on a 4x6 journaling card. That journaling card kind of has just a printed border, and like I said, I am working with just some bits and pieces from that storyline chapters collection. So what I'm going to do is replicate that card by trimming down a couple of pieces of paper. I used the 6x8 pad just because it's easier to trim out a 4x6 that way, and then I trimmed a really much more neutral pattern with, it's about a 1/2 inch border around the edge, just to replicate that kind of 4x6 card that was in there. Now my photo is not exactly the same size, so you can see I end up with not the same amount of space for the journaling as I had on my original, but I'm gonna end up not handwriting my journaling anyway, so I can just type that out and have it sitting over top of the sort of blank space in my photo anyway. Now the tricky thing with recreating this page is that I have to avoid my urge to hoard all of this pretty paper, because when I made the original page there, I think I mentioned it was mostly scrap papers. So I think, like I said, it was 4 years ago, but I'm fairly sure that Citrus Twist used to do 6x6 papers in their kits, and so these little 2-inch sort of ish wide wide pieces are from cutting down those 6-inch papers to 4x6s. So I had scraps to use up on that page, and on this page I do not. So I'm having to trim out those kind of scraps in quotation marks. And there are 3 on the original page, and what I decided as I was starting to trim up some of these papers, that kind of watercolor stripe one that I've stuck down already is my favorite paper from this entire collection, so I knew I wanted to use it. The urge for me is to kind of hoard it a little bit, so if I use it straight away, then I don't end up doing that. But I didn't want to necessarily cut apart 3 other bits of paper, so I did choose this black and white polka dot, just because it's a little bit more neutral. My photo was in black and white because it was a really poorly lit photo, and so this black and white polka dot will just kind of tie in that black and whiteness onto both sides of the page. And as far as the 3rd scrap goes, I decided to change that up a little bit, and I added one of those tag stickers from the project pad instead of trimming down another pattern paper. It just gives it a little bit more variance. That's maybe one thing from the original that I prefer on the new one, is it just gives another kind of element to the page rather than just scraps. So that's what I've done. I'm not going to create that little rosette that was on that page. I think that was an embellishment that was included in the kit. I'm going to replicate, I do like the sort of circleness of it, so I'm going to just replicate that with stickers. It's going to be super easy. I loved that little kind of, I'm going to call it a tangerine sticker, and I figured I could add one of these sort of circle labels. Those are all over the different sticker sheets, so I picked out ones that are kind of in these more citrusy colors. I like them for this page. They sort of go with that striped paper that I've used, and I guess it's going to become kind of the theme, the color scheme for the page. So I pulled out that yellow one to match the little yellow photo corner that I added. So on my original page there was a puffy sticker, and instead of adding that I just kept it a little bit more simple and added that kind of photo corner. I wondered about maybe the same watercolor stripe one as the paper, but it was just a little bit too busy, so the yellow works nicely just to bring a little bit more of those other colors over onto the right hand side. At the moment it's very black and white and peach. And in the same way, this is what I'm going to do onto this side, the left side of the page. I've just tilted this around to make it a little bit easier. In that sticker pack, there are these alphas. They are kind of translucent, so I'm putting them onto the white background, and that works totally fine. But that brings a little bit more of that kind of peachy color. I guess it's a bit more coral, it's a bit pinker anyway, onto that left hand side. So I don't have any acetate pieces like on my original. The original one, the title's a little bit larger, but I really like this. It stands out a little bit more than having that acetate piece sitting over top of the pattern papers. Now, to add a little bit more embellishment to the page, I'm going to add a few of these kind of phrase stickers. I love that I can add all those different colors, and I had to add a little rainbow in here as well. I'm kind of trying to create a little cluster down here. I'm not actually going to use that tag. It's got like prompts for sort of journaling on there. I'm not going to use that in this case because I do want to put my journaling on the right hand side like in the original. Now I wondered about adding this lemon up here, and I didn't just wonder about it, I did actually add the lemon up there. And again, these stickers are that kind of vellum-y, like they're a bit translucent, so I stuck that down, and I didn't like the way it sat over the top of the pattern papers, so instead I added that little sunshine and made sure to sit it just onto the white, and then I can add another little phrase sticker instead. So I am still going to end up with 3 kind of focal points. They're not really clusters onto this page because I've got the one down the bottom left with my tag, and then the little phrases and the sunshine at the top, and then down here on the bottom right I'm going to add my journaling. So I just grabbed some scrap paper and ran that through my typewriter, and I've just trimmed them into little strips, and I'm going to use my glue pen just to glue those strips. They're going to sort of bridge all of those layers, so my photo and the 2 pattern papers, and kind of tie it all together. I did want to add a little bit more kind of color down here though, because it is very black and white and the rest of the page is quite bright and colorful. I do love the colors in this collection. They're so fun and summery, which, you know, given that we're in the middle of winter, is just really nice. And so I did see this other little sticker here that says "You make me smile," so I'm going to add that down the bottom and call this page done. It was super simple and I loved actually scrap lifting myself. So I think I'm going to do this more often, and I think I may well just do it straight out of this traveler's notebook. It's really interesting to see how my style has changed or not changed in 4 years. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.